Hi, everyone, and welcome to Chewing the Fat with Kasie and Carrie. I apologize. I'm running a little bit late. Sometimes work can kind of get me a little bit behind, and I struggle to get on here a little bit. And that may be what's going on with Kasie right now. So we are missing Kasie. I may be for tonight. I'm not really sure what's going on, if she's having some technical difficulties or if she runs a small business as well, and sometimes things happen and we struggle a little bit. So, but we do try to be here every Thursday night for you guys in case you have any questions or comments, and we just kind of randomly pick topics. And Kasie and I do a really good job of just kind of batting ideas ourselves with each other because we are in the same world but different in a little bit. I run a doggy daycare and she runs a whole prey diet uh, food store in San Francisco. So unfortunately, I don't think Casey's going to be with us tonight. Maybe she'll come on in a little bit later. I'm not really sure. I've been trying to reach out to her and I haven't heard back. So we're going to wish and hope that Casey's okay and everything's all right. But for now, we can just kind of talk a little bit about your pets. If you have any questions, that's why we're here. I always hold this time for my clients to come in and just ask kind of random questions, and we could talk about different things. So, but for now, I'm just going to kind of talk to you a little bit about little things we'll talk about. Lori is actually here. So this is Lori. She is a really, really, really good friend of mine and also runs an amazing company called Allied Exchange that helps me with all my technical stuff. But while that is something you really want to reach out to if you need any kind of social media stuff, Lori is a huge animal lover. So I told her, well, I don't know where Kasie is, so maybe the two of us can kind of talk about. She's been learning along as when she took over the marketing for the spa and doing all of the stuff that she does. She's also had to learn a lot about dogs. That's fun, huh, Lori?
It is. It is.
No, weird how our worlds kind of collided. Not, I mean, we've known each other since I think sixth grade, fifth or sixth grade, and we both we've been in each other's lives all this time, but you don't know what each other's really doing. We go to work and you're like, oh, you work in marketing, oh, you work with dogs, and then now those two worlds have collided, and it's like, oh, you work in marketing, like you're really serious, like that's really what you do. I thought you were just like, oh, and she's probably like, oh, you work with dogs, like dogs every day. Uh, but I think we're both very, very passionate, which I think we're both really, really lucky, Lori, in that we found stuff that we're so passionate about. And what's interesting is that, so there's two things I'm super passionate about. Animals, you all know that. And I love public speaking. So I did speech and debate. I was, competitive all over the country for years and years and years. And I came to a crossroads in my life. Like, do I want to leave working with animals, or do I want to go teach debate, and I love doing that, and I loved working with the kids, or do I want to work with dogs and leave public speaking and all of that? And then I found a way to merge it together. And why I think that's so weird and ironic for Lori is now she's working with me and she's got two loves, animals and marketing, and now she's found a way to kind of merge those two together. And so it's been great.
It has been great. It has even added so much more fun to marketing for me because it is all about the animals, right? Dogs and cats and the boarding and nutrition and so many new people that we meet. And then the fun part of going down to your uh, the spa itself physically and interacting with all the pups. I love it. I
I know now
absolutely love
Lori's getting to know the dogs' names and the cat. Oh, I saw that cat last week when I was there or whatever.
it.
So there's all sorts of
So much fun.
goes on, and it's been a blessing for me to be able to combine the two together and really kind of get in there and do it. But anyway, so I thought I would give you guys a little bit of a, if you have questions, you can ask questions to me. Anything related to pets is fine, or even if you had business questions, I could probably answer, or debate questions, I can answer debate questions. But I thought I would kind of give you guys a little sneak preview, a little bit about what I've been doing and what's coming your way. And Lori's been in the back end really, really helping me. I hate to call it the back end because I feel like it's the driving force. So I'm like, I don't know if I can call Lori the back end because she's really been driving the podcast and getting it going. But we've been working really hard on season 7. So season 7 is coming out, and we have interviewed some amazing people and some really amazing, amazing stuff going on. So Lori gets the pleasure of listening to all of the podcasts before, because she helps me. She does all the editing and she gets it all going and the videos and stuff. So she sits back, and she's so funny because I'll finish up like one, and Lori's like, "Oh, that's really interesting." I'm like, "You listened to the whole thing?" She's like, "Yeah, I listened."
I do. I do.
So, but we interviewed Dr. Richard Picarin this season, and we did an episode on homeopathy. And Dr. Picarin is somebody who's been such a, if it weren't for Dr. Picarin's book that he wrote many years ago, I don't know that I'd be on the path that I am on. And so getting him on the show, and I'm so excited for you guys to listen to what he has to say. He's going to be on the show much more because I think Dr. Picarin and I have spoken off camera, off podcast, whatever you want to call it, and I didn't know what to call it, off podcast. And we have a really good connection, the two of us. So it was kind of amazing that he's the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing. But so he's going to be on the show a lot. But in season 7, we talk about homeopathy, and he explains the history of homeopathy for us. So that's going to be in season 7. I don't have a release date for you, but I can tell you that it's coming soon. It'll probably be mid-August when we start. Right, Lori?
Hmm. I have to say, I'm sorry, but I just had to say I was starstruck, you know, with Dr. Karen, because reaching out to him and asking for him to, be interviewed, right? Because you were the one that gave me his book many
Yeah,
years ago, and I tell you, I go to that all the time. I mean, it's my go-to book for my dogs, even with my cats.
yeah.
Anything that was amiss and I needed to figure it out or research, I go there. So I was so excited to watch and listen for that interview with him. So sorry, I
Yeah,
just had
it's
not to go off on a tangent, but
no,
I
no,
did. So excited.
it's so funny because people get very excited if they see, I don't know, Tom Hanks or something. And I probably take any credit away from Tom Hanks, but I would probably get excited if I saw Tom. But something happens when I run into people that have been such a force for me in my career and what I love to do. And Dr. McCarran, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to interview. I was so nerdy and giddy. And there's people like that. Dr. Patton is another one that I just, he's dedicated his entire life to these animals and has written books and has traveled all over the world and talked. And so when I talk to these veterinarians, sometimes I'm just so starstruck is the word. I know it sounds funny because people are like, who? And maybe you guys don't know who they are, but I'm like, you guys, check this out. In season 7, we interviewed Dr. Richard Picarin. Like,
Hmm.
that's how I feel about it when I say that, Dr. Richard Picarin. So I'm just so blessed to be able to be meeting all of these people and becoming and getting to know them more. So we did an interview with Dr. Richard McCarran, Dr. Judy Morgan. Oh, talk
Hmm.
about starstruck! I was like,
Yes.
oh my God, I'm gonna be talking to Dr. Judy Morgan. It's crazy. So, we talked about a lot. Actually, Dr. Judy Morgan was a really great topic. We kind of went a little bit all over, but we talked about some of the struggles that veterinarians have in running their businesses and why she stopped practicing. Frankly, she doesn't use her license anymore, and she does consultations, but it's limited as to what she can do and why she did that. And so you're going to want to listen to that because I don't think that it's just veterinarians that are leaving. Um, the their businesses and the things that they love. I think it's something that is a common denominator throughout all of service industry people. So it's hard. I fight it every day. There are days where I just say enough's enough, enough is enough. And I love animals, but do I love them this much to put up with mean, cruel people? And I've watched it happen to many, many veterinarians. And so I really wanted to do a show on it because, people know that I'm a part of Joey's Legacy. Lori has been a huge advocate of Joey's Legacy as well, which is an organization that is trying to fight against veterinary malpractice. So on one side, people think, oh, Carrie hates veterinarians. But on the other side, I really feel some of their struggles and their pain, and when you love something that you love so much and people want to blame you for absolutely everything, it can be heartbreaking. So that was a really good episode, and I really encourage people to listen to that episode, because it's not just about, oh, poor veterinarians. It's about how do you communicate with your veterinarian to get what you need for your pet. And so many times people are just want to play the blame game, and they just want to come at their veterinarian in this aggressive manner, and you're not going to get what you want that way.
Right.
Just listen. Sometimes just listen. I just recently had a client come in, and her dog was shedding a lot, and she brought up the fact that her dog was shedding. And I'm sorry that I'm bringing up a client situation, but she's no longer a client of mine because she was really upset. So I guess I'm not really talking about a client, but I
You're sharing a story, which is important.
I interjected and I said to her, sometimes shedding is because of the diet. If the diet is not providing a lot of the nutrients that they need for the hair. And she didn't want to hear me. She just shut me down instantly. And then I know my limits, so I said okay, and I took the dog in the back, and we did a bath, and we did the conditioners that we use for de-shedding, and we did all of that stuff. And then she was angry because the dog was still shedding when she picked up, and then even called me back weeks later to say that the coat looked worse than it did before she brought him to me. And in my head, I'm thinking, yes, because I was trying to tell you there's something else going on with your dog, but she didn't want to hear it. So I guess my point is, and my point with Dr. Judy Morgan is that communication is so vital when we're dealing with an animal that can't tell us themselves that they're not feeling well, and the hair and the skin and the coat are kind of the first little indicators that we have. So who else do? So we're not even done with season 7. We're having
Oh my goodness.
Dim
Uh,
on August 4th, so he'll be in there.
and then we also, you interviewed Dr. Holly.
Oh my gosh, that Dr. Erica Holly, that was oh my gosh, that was a good one. That was on mental illness in your pets, and we talked about and it's so weird because you really wouldn't think that mental illness occurs in animals, and it really, really does. And so we did a whole episode on mental illness, and that was just an amazing eye opener. I've known it. I deal with the elderly. We see dementia. We see um, all sorts of mental illness that affects our animals. Anxiety is actually considered a mental illness, and we get really in depth about that and talk a lot about that. And anxiety is something that is just continually getting worse and worse. So we
Right.
interviewed who else?
You also interviewed the Wellness Center of Orange County, which was very exciting.
Yeah, for all of our Orange County listeners and people that might be listening to this right now, I'm always on the hunt for places that I think your animals are. I know that was a good word to use considering we're talking about animals, but I'm always on the hunt to find places that are good for your animals. And I wish I could say it's easy. It's not. I know a lot of times we don't board too many dogs. We have a limit at my facility. We don't board more than 20 dogs a night, and so of course that becomes a problem. And so I have to find other places, and so I look for other boarding facilities and places I think your pets will be safe, but also kind of unique things. So the Orange County Wellness Center is a place where they have chiropractic, they have holistic veterinarians, they have rehab. So it's rehabilitation mostly they focus on. They have underwater treadmills and pools and all sorts of kind of really cool things like that. So that was a really great interview. They have some veterinarians that we were able to, one of their veterinarians, and the two owners came on and we talked about that. So that was pretty amazing.
And
The
then you
spa,
also interviewed Brian uh, Banfest?
It's
Brandfest?
yeah, yeah. Brian,
Yes.
Brian's
Yes.
a lot of fun because I don't want this to all be. It's because I really believe that, most of the listeners aren't going to be veterinarians. They're going to be pet parents. And so a lot of times when we're talking about all the stuff that you can do and you can't, people always think, oh, I can't do that because I don't know enough about it, or I never worked in the industry. I'm not a groomer. I can't. And they're very nervous. So, Brandon, Brian was really, I always want to call him Brandon because his last name is Brandfest. And in my
Yes.
head, I I, for those of you who don't know, I actually really legitimately do have dyslexia. I switch it, and so I see Brandon because his last name is Brandfest before I see Brian. I don't know. It happens in my head. I can see it that way. But he is like, I mean, although I will say he's starting to get further along in his education, and so now he's great because now he's starting to give advice and he's thinking about taking some classes and becoming a certified pet nutritionist. But when he did the change, he, decided to start feeding his pets raw. He was a guy who just had a dog and decided, I don't like this. I want to do something different. And he just did it. He wasn't, in the industry. He didn't work for veterinarians. He
Hmm.
just decided to do it. And so I thought it was important to bring someone on like that because most
Hmm.
of the time I'm talking to, people who make raw diets, commercial raw diets, veterinarians, vet techs. Uh, we've had all sorts of, and I just thought, we need the guy, we need the pet parent who just did it, and
Right.
to show. So I wanted people to know anybody can do this. This isn't. It can be scary, but the benefits are so amazing if you just take the time to learn about it. And
Yes.
everybody's path is different. So when I first met Brian, he had sent me, I remember, a question asking me, because so many places are like raw or nothing. Raw, you have to do only raw, or you're that's it. And I just had a question come across to me the other day, and the girl she put it on one of the other. I'm an admin for Saving Pets One Pet at a Time, and she came on and said she doesn't know what to do and she doesn't want to say what she's feeding her dog. And when the questions all started finishing, she finally just said, I thought I had to do either raw or kibble. She didn't know there was in
In
between.
between. Hmm.
And the sad part is that you can get people as learning in our political world, which I don't want to get into, but people get all or nothing. You're either all of this or you're all of that. I am way more moderate, and so I think that when you do all or nothing, that's the problem, is that you never work your way up to what may be the greatest thing ever. And so I told her, no, there's so much in between raw and kibble. There's
Yes.
so much. I can't even begin to tell you guys. So if you are listening to this for the first time and you haven't listened to my podcast and you're not really sure, just know that I am here. Lori has learned, she has big dogs, that they're very expensive to feed. So what am I going to tell her? No, sorry, Lori, it's kibble or nothing. When I know, even for humans, like that's one of the things I always talk about. What if it was nothing in between? I either eat Burger King or I have to eat a super healthy dinner every single night. Am I going to do that? Probably not. Someone's going to put inevitably a brownie in my face, and I'm going to.
Yes.
So,
But you know something, it's important. I see quite a lot on social media and notes and questions and things, which, by the way, we have a question we'll get to
oh,
here in a minute with Shelly
oh, Shelly.
D'Angelico. Anyway, you know that I do buy the raw,
Yeah,
right? And I feed them the freeze dried raw, and then also raw for my animals. But I also home cook for them
yep,
in their with their meals, right?
yeah,
Because I have three of them, two very big, and one just happens to be picky,
yeah,
and he will eat the home cooked, pork sirloin with carrots and broccoli and everything in it, but he will not touch that raw meat.
yeah,
My other one, devours the kidneys and hearts and anything raw. He just loves it. So we have this happy medium.
Yeah,
But you
it's a
know
good point.
something? It's more affordable for me to cook for my dogs than it was for me to buy the kibble. I swear to you.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. It is. Go ahead. Shelly has a Shelly.
yes. So Shelly says, I want to ask what diet I should put my dog, 11 years old, on whose blood work came back yesterday with higher than normal levels of ALT and ALK.
Okay. Hi, Shelly. So Shelly's been dealing with her dog's name is Ziggy. I actually know Shelly, and I was so hoping Kasie was going to be here to give you a different opinion than mine. And and this is one thing I always say: if you, I'm not a veterinarian, but whether no matter who you're talking to, if they're not willing to know their limits and be able to get second opinions, then you shouldn't be speaking to that person. So with Shelly, and I'm glad she's bringing this up because it's going to help me a little bit. But a lot of dogs get their liver enzymes, they get their blood work done, and their liver enzymes are elevated. With Ziggy, his are continuing to elevate. So we're starting to have a little bit of some concern, obviously. So, and it's been suggested by her current veterinarian to feed a liver diet.
Mm,
But I am not sure exactly where her veterinarian is going with that. Like, does I assume if somebody says feed a liver diet, they would give you a recipe and tell you what a liver diet is. So, um, I do know that some supplements, which Shelly's going to be working on a little bit as far as figuring out the supplements, we're going to want a low fat diet. I know that it's important to feed liver when any organ is failing. So if you, and I'm not saying that Ziggy's liver is failing, his liver enzymes are high, and I'm sure he's eating liver. Like to see him eat more of the liver from a completely 100% organic place. So I talked with Shelly earlier today, and we talked about getting him completely off the food he's on. So
mhm,
eating, Shelly actually eats a really, really Shelly's dog eats a very healthy diet, but it's not working for him. And that's the thing is sometimes we get stuck. We think my dog's eating a raw diet, it's the best diet, but it's if it's not working for your dog, then we have to adjust it. So her veterinarian had suggested no chicken. She said that it's an inflammatory food, and I'm not saying that I agree with that. I'm saying that if Ziggy's eating chicken now and eating turkey now and his liver enzymes are up, then we're going to need to switch him. So I would recommend doing maybe a rabbit. Sometimes rabbit would be good. A fish based diet might work. It's just kind of, we got to alter it and change. And so, for those of you guys who are listening, Shelly kind of knows a little bit. I'm actually going to be giving her Dr. Canzanero's phone number and also Dr. Dim's phone number. They are homeopaths. And so, even though for Shelly and all of the people that might be listening, so that I'm making sure that I make this broad kind of out there, a homeopath might be able to help because we've already done some holistic stuff and they're still continuing to rise. So we are going to seek out a little bit more of a homeopath, but also being very careful not to overdo it. Sometimes when people get these, I'm so glad Shelly came on tonight. I told her, come on and, ask questions. I was hoping Kasie would be here because she might be able to give a different perspective.
mhm.
Katie works with whole prey diets, and so I thought she might have a little something to say in there. I'm pretty sure Kasie would agree with getting a hold of some liver that is completely organic, hormone free. All of those things are very important because the liver actually is what filters out all of the toxins. So if you're going to feed liver, it needs to not be
Not
liver from,
toxic.
right. It needs to be not toxic. But there's much research that talks about when you have an organ that's failing, if you should eat heart. If you have liver problems, you should eat liver. And there's a lot of scientific evidence towards that. So it's pretty interesting. So that's the first thing I would say is that we get a hold of some pure organic liver and that we get Ziggy off of the chicken, get him off of the turkey, get him off of. I think he needs to go on a very bland diet and see if we can get those liver enzymes done. Meaning, I think we need to get him on probably like just a rabbit and a little bit of the green juju, and that's it, and nothing else. I think the more bland we make it temporarily until we can find out, but we'll find out more. I really want you to see or speak with the homeopaths that I'll be giving you. And for those of our listeners that are listening, those homeopaths that I'm going to be recommending. Now, I know you're all going to think, well, why isn't she recommending Dr. Richard Picarin, right? He's the father of the modern day homeopathic, but he doesn't practice anymore. So, and that's why I'm recommending someone like Dr. Canzanero or Dr. Dim, and they have taken classes through Dr. Richard Picarin's classes that he offers. So that's going to be, I think, what we need to do. But Shelly, I really think that we need to get him on a pretty bland, easy diet. I think that's the first thing we need to do. So all interesting stuff and a little bit as a nutritionist, I think it's important. I need to know my limits. A lot of times I tell people, listen, I'm not a veterinarian, so I'm not going to pretend to be a veterinarian. I didn't go to years of school to learn how to read. Now I do know, just from my experience of working for a vet, what we're talking about when we have liver enzymes that are raised. In some cases, since we're going to talk about liver enzymes, sometimes the liver enzymes can be raised because your dog is simply overweight. So now I know that's not the case with Sticky. It can be that case. So if you're listening to this and you're like, my dog's liver enzymes are elevated too, one of the first things you're going to want to do is get your dog to lose weight in a healthy way. One of the things that bothers me more than anything, and I see it time and time again, if you have a dog who's overweight, I'm going to use this example because it was so heartbreaking for me to hear it. It's like it was very much like telling a little girl, you're overweight, so stop eating and keep reducing your food. So, and I said little girl because little girls tend to be the ones that suffer from anxiety, from anorexia. But I had a client years ago, and her dog was overweight, and the veterinarian's suggestion was for her to just feed less. So there's a problem with that, right? Because the nutrients all come from it. So if your dog, and her dog, it was a boxer at the time, and her dog was eating, I want to say 3 cups or 4 cups a day, and the veterinarian started to go down to 2 cups. 2 cups a day means that's less nutrients, that's less calcium, that's less protein, that's less all of that. The problem was she was eating kibble, and kibble, you're not going to lose weight off of kibble, not even the weight management stuff. You're just not. So if your dog's having a problem with weight, and that could be his liver enzymes, Shelly has gone through all of the things that I tell people who have raised liver enzymes, which is you want to make sure that you're not giving anything toxic, and that means in the house, around the house, on your dog, in your dog, which means candles burning that could have toxins in them that your dog is breathing all the time. Uh, Cleaning supplies in your house that your dogs, you have to remember, our dogs' olfactory glands are very sensitive. They breathe in everything, and they're little. And so those little tiny things that you think are no big deal could be affecting your pet's liver. So in
We
your
had a, oops, sorry, Carrie. We had a couple more questions from Shelly along these lines. So she was actually asking, where do you get organic liver? As well as when you spoke about rabbit, she was asking about small batch rabbit, which I don't think that's what you meant. I
right,
did do a quick search, unless you have a different a place that you would recommend for the organic liver, but
if you have one, she's down in Palm, like the Palm Springs
well,
area.
it turns out, I mean, I just Googled where to buy, organic liver, and a few sites came up. Shelly for, 100% grass fed meats, but it also, you should be able to, Whole Foods markets and
Yeah,
Sprouts.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You'd be
Hmm.
surprised. Liver's pretty easy to get. Some of the other organs are harder to get a hold of, but liver's
Right.
pretty easy.
Hmm.
If you're up here in the Orange County area, Shelly, one of my place I get my dog's liver from here is the butchery in Newport Beach. So they do all organ. hormone free
Right.
organic foods. And so you can get a lot of butchers will have it. You just want to make sure that it's grass fed, hormone, it needs to be hormone organic free, or we're not going to get where we need to get.
Right.
So, but while we're still staying on the liver, and anyone else's dog who has liver enzymes that are elevated, flea and tick medication, uh, all of these things that we bombard, heartworm medications, vaccinations. You can give a vaccine to a dog, and then I don't know, a month later go and have his liver enzymes tested, and they may be up, and then it could send you. And I'm not telling you not to do anything about it, but I've had people just go, I'm going to test it again in 6 months, and then remove all of the toxins, and the liver enzymes go down by themselves. Now this hasn't been the case with Ziggy. That's why we're struggling a little bit to find out, because Shelly is unbelievably on top of it. I can't stress enough, like, this is the pet parent that every groomer and veterinarian hopes to have, because she will write everything down, and she's doing everything she can, which is probably what's so frustrating, is that
Yes.
she's
She
doing
is
everything.
asking if it's just straight raw liver. And yes, straight raw liver,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Just
I feed it to my dogs and they love it. Same with the hearts.
Ziggy's little, so we just want to give him little tiny pieces of it. So it doesn't need to. It depends on how big the liver is when you get it. So they use, I don't know, the one I get for my dog is about that big. Ziggy would eat probably about a quarter of that. Kind of, you can look at it. He doesn't need to have it every day. I would probably give it to him 3 times a week, and see if that will start to help. What the argument behind that is that the liver actually has its own enzymes that actually help heal the body. And so those enzymes that the liver that your pet is eating actually will go into the body and actually support any damage that's going on with the liver. So that's why I always suggest it. So, and I think it was the last one I read article. I think it was the Mayo Clinic did it. It was for humans, and they were talking about humans doing that, is eating the organ that is, which I don't know that we would necessarily. I'm not going to eat the pancreas of anything. I'm sorry. If my pancreas is fine, I don't know that I'm going to do it. But they do recommend that you do that. So that would be where I would start. And then getting rid of those toxins. Like if your dog is out walking in the neighborhood, a lot of people live in condos, at least in Southern California, and they spray stuff on the grass, and then your pet walks through it, and then his liver enzyme. The liver is designed to flush out toxins. So that's why the liver enzymes will go up. They go up for a lot of reasons, and there can be something seriously wrong with your dog. Ziggy has been checked out thoroughly, but I'm talking to a wide range of people, so I want to make sure that I cover everything. Don't just think, oh, the liver enzymes are up, I'm not going to do anything. You need to rule out everything and then work backwards from there. Okay, now I'm going to remove toxins, what my pet's eating, uh, what I'm putting in the house. A lot of times I always tell people, if you're burning candles, or you're burning incense, or you're burning, uh, what are those? Help me out, the scented stuff. What is it called?
The,
The oil.
oh, the oils.
There's those. This is
I don't burn them, so I don't.
oil. The name for essential oil. So
Essential oils.
I'm not here to tell you they're bad. I'm here to tell you that every pet reacts differently to everything. And I always use my poor father-in-law as an example. My father-in-law is allergic to bananas. So bananas bad. Am I going to tell everybody, oh my God, don't eat a banana, because my father-in-law eats one and he swells up? Essential oils, I feel the same way about. Essential oils have done wonders. I use them in the spa. Sometimes I have to use them for different things. Um, but if your pet has elevated liver enzymes, you have to start eliminating everything, um, and trying to figure out whether that is the problem. But gosh, man, it is hard. It is really hard, and you just keep going and figuring out. Poor Shelly, she's been fighting on this one for
Oh,
a long time. So
oh.
Who else did she say something else?
She did, yeah. So
I
she got
posted a
it
picture of
before we
Ziggy.
did on essential oils. She also said, "I washed the bottom of his feet after he's been outside." That's so sweet.
Telling you, there's
Aw. And then she is asking, what else should he eat in between the livers, if that's 3 times a day, or 3 times a week, because she says Ziggy eats 3 times a day.
yeah. So that's the other thing, and I know you're not going to want to hear this, Shelly. I know you do not want to hear this, but I would not be feeding him 3 times a day. I think his liver is possibly overworked, and so I would really like to see him not be eating so much. I mean, not that he's eating so much, but I think sometimes we just need to give the body a little bit of a rest and let it just kind of do what it's supposed to do. And as we know through all of the research that I've done and Casey's done, even though she's not here, fasting is a big part of allowing the organs to kind of just take some time out when it is very hard, especially on an older dog, to constantly be trying to flush out. And even if the food we're eating isn't toxin, the liver is still involved in doing what it's supposed to do. It doesn't just go to sleep until a toxin is available. It is flushing out and doing things. So I would recommend that you try to get him down to eating at least twice a day. I know she's probably, I can see her face right now. I'm like, I almost didn't want to say it because I can feel her going, oh no, that's not happening. But I would recommend giving his liver a little bit of a rest. But like I said, a bland diet to start with to see if we can get him, maybe just put him on the, you know, maybe just the small batch rabbit and not the green juju for a while and see how he does. It's gonna be a trial and error with us. If we're gonna change up his diet a little bit, we need to do a little trial and error and see how he reacts to it. If he's gonna be able to, go down to eating twice a day. It worries me because I know Ziggy and he's gonna have anxiety and she's gonna have anxiety, and that can also not be good for the body. So it could be, I would say, keep on hand when you're transitioning him off of eating. If you decide to do this and put him on 2 times a day, you're going to need to give him something during the day. I would suggest it is a walk, or it is some kind of way to divert his attention, because he's going to want to eat at noon. And if he doesn't get his food at noon, it could build some anxiety. So you're going to have to be ready to divert his attention. And maybe instead of eating at noon, he goes for a walk at noon, or he
Right,
gets a game at noon, or he gets a belly rub at noon, or whatever. I don't know if you feed him at noon. I'm assuming it's around that time. And trying to just get him into it, because just like people, dogs eat for habit also. It is the habit of the attention they get when we feed him. It's not because he's hungry. I guarantee you he's not hungry and he would be fine. But you got to break that habit. It's just like all these poor COVID dogs. They're okay. They were okay before COVID to be left alone, but now it's a habit that mom and dad are home all day long. And so I've had to break all these habits of these poor dogs. There was actually just a news article about it. It was so sad. I'm like, wow, there it is, hitting the news how horrible these poor animals are feeling. Being, there was a picture of this golden doodle that got dropped off at doggy daycare for the first time since COVID. And it was so sad. It was this little picture of him sitting in the corner and he was like, oh. But before COVID, he liked going to daycare, and now he just wants to go home and sit on his mom's lap because those habits, we create those habits in our dogs.
right,
So you can't, we can't swap. If we do that, if we say, all right, Ziggy, we're going to give your liver a little bit of a break, and we're not going to put so much food in your stomach that your liver is working to do its job. We're going to just ease off a little bit so that it's not needing to produce all these enzymes to do all of this work. Maybe that's all we need to do. But if we're going to create anxiety to do that, we have another problem. So we
right.
have to address the anxiety that I know Ziggy and Shelly are both going to feel when they're trying to break that habit. But I would strongly recommend that.
See, there's a comment. Well, Shelley asked about fermented fish stock, and then Sarah Holden had commented about um, how she fasts her dogs on a regular basis. And I know that you talk about fasting
Yeah,
as well as being beneficial too.
right there, Sarah. Yeah, we talk about fasting a lot on the show and with the veterinarians,
Mhm.
and we talk a lot about fasting. And it's a scary thing. It is. It's a scary thing. It's not for every pet owner. It's not for every dog. So it can be, like I said, once you start doing it and learning about fasting and understanding, I always tell the story about the dog who fasted the longest ever. It was 152 days. 152 days. Cambridge University did a study trying to find out how long a dog could go, a canine could go, and it was a collie. I can't remember the collie's name off the top of my head, but they wanted to know, they were trying to figure out how much nitrogen, I guess, increases right before a pet passes away. So, or before anything does. And so that's what they were testing. And so and what was so interesting about that study to me is that at the 52-day mark, the pet's energy increased and continued that level of increased energy throughout the entire fasting until they took the dog off. The moment the nitrogen started to increase even a slightest bit is when they took the pet off of the fasting. But he was healthy and running around and jumping around for 152 days.
Wow.
So with all of that kind of research about fasting, and I do fast my dogs. My dogs fast. They used to fast twice a month, but I got to say, lately they've been, I fast them a little bit more here and there. And sometimes I do sort of fasts. I do. My dogs eat once a day, and they do sort of these fasts where I just do veggies. They didn't eat anything except maybe some green juju, which green juju is one of my go-to because I'm lazy and I don't like to cook. But it is just veggies and bone broth, and they're all pureed down for them, which I like. I like to have the veggies pureed down for the animals, especially dogs. They have a short little digestive tract, so sometimes veggies don't get completely digested. So um, but yeah, I think fasting, I love to see that people are getting on board with it, not just for our animals, but ourselves, right? Fasting and they talk about ketosis. So, but I don't want to put, and it isn't for every dog. If you have a dog who's diabetic, no, we can't be doing that. So there's all sorts of reasons. We don't like to fast our puppies, anything under a year. Some veterinarians are opposed to fasting cats. So you have to be really kind of on board with your pet and your pet's needs. I think that Ziggy, if we're going to talk about Ziggy right now, would be a good candidate for. At this point, I think we need to just maybe skip one meal during the day and see if that has any effect on his liver enzymes. Um, it'd be interesting to see if that solves the problem, as that he's eating too often. As in the wild, they go on average. When we did the podcast with the wolf expert, he said they'll go on average 3 weeks without food. And what was interesting the most about that is that his name was Tom Gable. He said that it is actually by choice, not by necessity. Because people will argue that, oh, they fast because they don't have any food available to them. And he said, no, 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 no. They fast by choice. They will actually hunt and kill and drag the kill back and not touch it and leave it there. And then it just ferments and does its thing. Mm.
You know, I
And
found
then
that so interesting
mm,
listening to that one because not that my dogs fast for days on end or weeks, right?
okay.
But every dog I've ever had will go a day or two just on their own and
Yeah,
not eat.
yeah,
My dogs do it. I mean, uh, so it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not done like if their stomach is upset or they're not feeling good. It's just they just don't want to eat.
yeah.
And I'm like, okay, don't eat,
I know it's
and they go
interesting.
do their thing.
It's you bring up such a good point. I know a lot of people who say, "Look, I don't pick when my dog fasts. My dog picks when he fasts."
Hmm.
Then and then we panic, and certainly not eating pet, be it dog or cat, could be the result in the beginning of an animal not feeling well, and we have to pay very close attention. I always tell people,
Of
make sure you have
course.
a thermometer on board, make sure you know how to take your pet's temperature. Temperature is a really good indication that there's a possible infection and things to worry about, and your dog's personality and what's going on. Those are super important things. But I know so many people that tell me that their pets, not my pets would never choose to fast. Trust me. I would never pass up a meal if I put it in front of either one of them. But I do know animals who just, people tell me, oh no, I'll put food down, and they won't eat. And then
Yeah.
people panic and they rush them to the vet and they run all the blood tests. And the vet's like, I don't see anything wrong. But meanwhile, the dog's acting, or the cat's acting completely normal. And then, $2,000 later, they come back home, and then all of a sudden the dog starts eating again. And I'm
Right.
like, that's weird. And then 6 months later, oh my God, he's not eating.
And
$2,000.
I used to panic. I'm not gonna lie, I did. I used to panic. But after having, quite a few dogs in my lifetime,
Yeah,
and they do it, and I just like, okay, and I check them, make sure that they're fine, and it's not because they're not feeling well. It's just, yeah, just don't want to eat, giving their body a rest.
yeah, it's real natural for them in the summertime to do a little fasting. It's hot.
Yes.
Yeah, that's usually when people will go, I don't, he just doesn't feel like eating. He's not eating. And well, it's, 110 out, and I don't feel like eating either.
Right.
So, and to those, like in the summertime, I tell people that's where I love the bone broth popsicles, because you can just get some bone broth and put it in the freezer, and it's hot out and they don't really feel like, like us, we love something cold when it's hot out. And sometimes you can just let them lick the bone broth in the backyard, and as a popsicle, you just put it in a regular dog bowl and you freeze it. Sometimes I'll put like some fruits and berries in that, and then I just let dogs lick on it. My dogs love that. And that's when I say sometimes I do these weird fasting days where they're not really fasting, but I might do a giant bone broth popsicle, and that's all they've had all day, and they licked on that for 2 hours in the backyard, which is great because it also stimulates their mind and all that kind of stuff. So I do all sorts of weird fasts like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, we did have Shelly asked about fish stock,
Oh, fish sauce.
and then we also have questions from Brian, Brandfest too. So I'll let you address fish stock, and then I'll read the questions from Brian.
Okay. So, Shelly, super glad you brought up fish stock, because we're going to talk a little bit about some issues that I don't know if they're issues yet, but Answers. I know she uses the fish stock from Answers, and Answers has gone through some changes, and so I'm still doing a little bit more research on whether or not I think the fish stock you have is fine, but I think as things move with them, we might start seeing some changes in their fish stock. Now, I love fermented fish stock. So I think anything fermented is going to be amazing for our pets. And I love fish stock because it just has so much nutrients in it for them. It's amazing the nutrients you can get out of some fish stock. So I think it's a great idea. However, your little Ziggy has liver enzymes that are elevated. And so I think we should remove everything for a while and get on a very bland, easy diet, meaning just the food. Um, and I think you should maybe do that for 2 weeks, and then 2, 3 weeks, and see what we're experiencing. It's hard to figure out what to remove, but fish stock's an easy thing to remove, so I think it should be removed and see. I know off camera, Shelly and I have talked a lot about keeping it simple, right? When our pets are sick, we want anything and everything that will make them feel better,
Right.
and anything, and just do it, make it work. I don't care. Here's $1 million. And I know that's exactly what Shelly's done enough research for herself to know. And so she said, yeah, I don't want to throw everything at him. And because that can make it worse, the
Mhm.
body has to produce to break that stuff down. And so I would remove the fish stock for now. And then going forward, check with me when I know a little bit more about Answers and how that company is going to be moving along, because they lost some of their they're best people, and so I don't know if they're still going to be sourcing from the same places that they source. And sourcing is very important to me, and what I carry in my stores. So, but they did. I know that they started a new company. The girls that were really highly involved, and it's called Cure, Kure. So you're going to want to look for their fermented fish stock, which I'm pretty sure that they are going to be carrying. So, anyway, and then Brian says, "What's the best way to fast when feeding once a day?" But if I skip a meal, it works out to be a 40-hour. Yes. Okay, so I'm sorry, I should have read that question out loud. So Lori, you can, if I don't know,
Okay, so Brian asks, what's the best way to fast when feeding once a day? I recently switched to once a day, but if I skip a meal, it works out to be a 48-hour fast. I'm not opposed to that, but just wondering if that's what ends up being the case if you only feed once a day.
that is what ends up being the case. But you also could feed in the morning of that. So if you feed at night, right? So you feed at night, and then instead of going all the way to the next night, you could just do the next morning. And so it won't quite be 48 hours, but 48 hours will be fine. Like I said, if you generally have a non-diabetic, uh, I wouldn't start a dog off on a 48-hour fast for the first time. But since you're already doing some of this, and Brian, you know enough about your dogs to be comfortable in doing that, I think you're totally fine. My dogs will. That's exactly what will happen. Is it ends up being 48 hours before they eat. So, um, and I've never. So, what do we look for, right? And if I'm fasting my dog, what's going to happen if there's something going wrong? And that's important to know. Like if you're suddenly, your pet has gone that 48 hours and they're laying in the corner and they're, vomiting all over the place, then we might have a little bit of problem. So
Right.
sometimes in a fast you can ease into fasting, where like I'm suggesting to Shelly, which is you take that middle meal out, and then Ziggy would be fasting throughout the day, and then if for example, if you wanted to start learning about, then you would take one meal out and you can continue to do that. So, Brian, you might want to try doing it where you feed, like I said, in the morning first, that first time you do it, and just watch and see. Or if you think you can just go the whole 48 hours, absolutely, totally fine. You can go 48 hours. When I do wellness retreats at the spa, and I have animals who have yeast and bacteria, and their skin is just they're on fire and they've tried everything else and they've gone everything. We actually do a 3-day fast. So it's 3 days. And then on our fourth day, they actually will start drinking just liquid goat's milk. And so they start drinking goat's milk. And I can't even begin to tell you how crazy it is to see an animal whose skin is just inflamed and they're itchy and they're biting and they're chewing and they're miserable. And they've been on every drug known to man. And you do that fast, and on day two, you can already start to see the inflammation go down. And then on day three, you're just like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. And then we start doing those liquid goat's milks, and we start doing that. It's unbelievable how it resets the body and the changes that I've seen. And that's why I'm such a good, big advocate of fasting, is because I've seen it in so many different levels and I've researched it quite a bit. So, but even the first time I was like, what? Don't feed my dog. You guys are nuts. I believe me, I've been down all that. You would not believe the crap I used to believe. You got to feed kibble. It cleans their teeth. I mean, the stuff that I believed, and now the way that I follow and believe stuff is I really go back to nature and what nature provides. And when I see that nature provides, and when we watch wolves purposely killing something and dragging it and not eating it for weeks on end, there's something to be said about that.
Hmm.
So, and it's just hard because it gets into our head and it becomes very psychological. But
Yeah, we had a
absolutely.
couple of comments on Facebook. Um, Jennifer Canberra had said that she had finally tried fasting. Her dog did it for 3 days, and she was good.
Yeah,
They
you
just had to
days.
divert her attention.
Uh,
Um,
Jennifer, you did it for 3 whole days.
three
Your first time out of the what is it called? The gate.
days.
I if she says yes, I'm impressed. I mean, I'm impressed anyway that anyone does it, but if she did a whole 3 days straight out of the gate, wow.
Yes, very
Wow.
impressive. And then Shelley asked about green juju or the goat's milk would be beneficial for Zig. She's asking if it would be. Um,
Okay.
and then also asked if the rabbit and liver would be too much protein.
So we're just going to do a little bit. So when you do the rabbit and the liver, so on the day that you do the liver, don't do the rabbit. So we're just going to, because I, eventually we can merge those together, I think, and be fine. But I think in the beginning, Shelly, I really want to keep Zig on a very bland, easy diet. So I don't want to be bombarding so much stuff on him. So on liver days, we'll just do a little bit of liver, a little bit of green juju. And this is just a temporary diet. This is not, I don't want to get phone calls from people going, what kind of nutritionist are you? That dog can't eat liver for his whole life forever. Like, this is just temporary to see if we can, see if we can create something. Once we start speaking to the homeopath and we start merging things together and figuring out, how Ziggy's going to react to just liver. I don't want to say, here, add liver to this diet, and then Ziggy's throwing up, and we're figuring things out. So it's little by little, and we can kind of create that as we go. But on days where we're going to give him some liver can be pretty fatty as well. We'll just give him a little bit of liver and a little bit of green juju. Um, you can pick if you want to do the green juju or the goat's milk, but I think it should be one or the other. And I'm leaning more towards the green juju because I don't want Zig to lose too much weight. But he could probably do the goat's milk. It's hard to say. Seriously, it's like someone going, I want to eat healthier and I need to eat more veggies. Should I eat cauliflower or broccoli? Like those are both very healthy options. And so, which one is better? Maybe the goat's milk because it's only one thing, right? It's a lot blander. Actually, the more I'm talking myself into it, I'm thinking you should go with the goat's milk.
Right.
And then what was the other she said?
Oh, goat's milk.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Go with the goat's milk, but don't do both.
Right. Do
So
goat's
just
milk or green juju.
yeah, just go with the goat's milk, but just like for 2 weeks, Shelly, and let's see what I know she's going to either talk to Dr. Canzanero or Dr. Dim. Let's see what they say about putting Zig on this blander diet and for how long before they would run tests again on the liver enzymes because I don't know. We can't keep Ziggy on that diet forever, but can we keep him on this bland diet for 2 weeks and then run the liver enzymes, or is this something they think we need to come up with more of a more balanced bland diet for a longer period of time to do the liver enzymes, if that makes sense. And that's all going to come from when they think we should be doing the liver enzyme tests again. Once we put, but I really am such a huge, I strongly believe we need to feed less food throughout the day and we need to do a bland diet. That's my main thing I think needs to happen. So, all right. What else is going on? Hey, did we talk about all of the podcasts that we did? Did I mention
We
all of them?
did.
We did.
All
Okay.
at the beginning. Yes, at
Yeah.
the top of the hour. So,
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure I went through all of those. I'm super excited. I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Dim on August 4th. So he'll be
yes.
also in the podcast. And we're
And then
actually
we
going
have
to,
a few more that we're going to try and get set up as well.
yeah, I got to finish out the season. Dr. Dim, we're going to be talking about vaccinations, which I know we've talked about that on the show before, but we're going to get a lot more deeper into vaccines and all sorts of stuff. We were kind of back and forth about maybe talking about ethics, and because I met Dr. Dim through Joey's legacy as well, which I got to tell you, any veterinarian willing to be a part of Joey's legacy is somebody that, I mean,
Oh
I'm,
yeah.
I that is, I can't tell you how hard it is to come out and speak out against your colleagues and
Yes.
your, your, to have a veterinarian that's willing to do that automatically raises high levels for me.
Oh yeah, it's high integrity and ethics to your point, right? Do what's right.
Yeah, we did a roundtable with Dr. Dim a while back. That's how I met him, and we talked a little bit about ethics and do they have, I mean, do they teach ethics in veterinary school? And he giggled. He was like, "Huh, sorta."
Mm.
That was his answer. "Huh, sorta."
Never
No,
know. You may go down that road during your interview anyway.
yeah, we might, but he's Dr. Dim is very, very passionate about not, these vaccinations that we're giving these animals, and it's hard because I know in the beginning of COVID, people just were just thinking for sure one way or another. And they think because I think of this way, but I just, it's different. It's different with the animals, and they are so over vaccinated. So over vaccinated. And it's heartbreaking. So it'll be a good topic, I'm sure, to talk about. So, all right. We are coming up on our hour, right?
Yes.
Right. I actually have to get back down to the spa because I'm going to be doing a live video. So if there's anybody that is boarding with me tonight, don't worry, I haven't forgotten. I'm going to and so they should all be fed and ready to go, and I'll be ready to show you guys your puppies and your kitties here in a few minutes. I'm just a mile away from work, so I'll be down there in a little bit. So, but I'm glad you guys joined us for tonight. I'm sorry that Kasie wasn't here. Lori, thank you so much for reading those
Sure.
questions and
I'll
being
fill in anytime.
and I hope it's helpful for you guys. I'm here every Thursday night. I kind of allot this time so that, clients, I know it's hard. Sometimes Shelly will tell you, she knows. Sometimes it's so hard to get me. I got poop all over me and a dog in my hands. So it can be a little bit harder to get a hold of me. So there's this way you can get a hold of me on Thursday nights. And then the other way, of course, you can always call the spa if I'm available, or Millie's
Or
house.
schedule your consults with you.
There's Lori in the marketing. You can schedule.
You can go to the spa's website, allthespa.com, and schedule the consults with Carrie. She has a couple of different choices, and you get undivided attention that way.
Well, there's that too. So, and that's why I work with Lori because she's a marketing person. But there's also Millie's house. So Millie's
And
house,
Billy says yes.
the one of the things I love about Millie's house is, and of course I love to do private consultations because we can really, really get in and talk about your dog, and I can kind of learn more a little bit about the lifestyle that you're living, which is so important when I give answers to people because I also am a behaviorist. So I need to know about your dog's behavior. That's why I know a lot about Ziggy. I know Ziggy's going to go stressed out when if she takes away. I know him. He's going to stress out at noon. So, but I love doing those. But Millie's house, so Lori helped me create, well, Lori created, let's be honest, I didn't create anything. I didn't create anything. Lori created Millie's house. Millie was my bulldog, for those of you who don't know, but that I lost a long time ago. She was a dear, dear, dear dog friend of mine.
So,
But
so
Millie's
sweet.
house, I love when people put questions there. Now we're still trying to grow it, and that can take time. But one of the reasons why I like, and I check it every night, I check to see if there's a question there, and I try to answer as soon as I can. But it helps other people.
Yes.
So if and other people are on there. We have a couple of vet techs are on there, and so you can just type in your question to Millie's house, and if I don't get to it, there's a good chance somebody else might get to it, or I will get to it, within a time period. And I love when people put questions there because it can be so helpful to other people. So if you just have a simple question, you're just not sure and it's driving you crazy, you can always go to Millie's house and I can answer something there. Or, you can meet us here on Thursday night. So
Right.
I'll
And
probably keep,
Millie's house is a Facebook group.
oh, thanks. See, Millie's
Just for
house.
those who aren't sure.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to join the group and it's free to join. And then that's it. And then you become a a member of that group. And I don't post too much in that group because I'm pretty hands on at work, but I will answer your questions if you go there. So
I share to the group all the time.
Brit. Yes, Lori. Thank God for Lori. I thank you so much. All right, guys, I'm gonna head off of here so I can go play with some puppies and some kitties. And we got new kitties in that I haven't had too much time to visit with. So we have one kitty. His name is Turd, and his mom was so cute. I know, but his mom was so cute. She's like, I didn't name him, but I love it, and we love it
I
too.
love it too.
I know. At first, you could tell she was little, like when she dropped off. Hopefully, she's not listening to this and hates me for this, but she was like, I didn't name him. And I'm like, it's a cool name. So what? He does like, it's not like you're being mean when you say turd. And so I don't know. And he's cute. And I know he's down there. So I got to go visit with him a little bit. So,
Oh, we got to
uh,
see him.
yeah, you'll
We're
get
gonna
to see
have to
him.
see
So I'll be live here in a little bit. You guys just let me get my scrubs back on and I will see you next Thursday. And just watch out for the podcast that'll be coming out mid-August, I think. We'll probably
him.
have
Yeah,
our first
I think
episode.
it's second Tuesday.
Second
Second
Tuesday, I think
second
so.
Tuesday, I think.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. It's coming, and we have such an amazing lineup of people for you guys to listen to. So we're excited about that. And really quickly, I'm going to point this out. If you are in the Orange County area and you do want to go check out the Orange County Wellness Center for your pets, on August 22nd, the spa has we have a private party there, and it's a private pool party for your dogs. Unfortunately, we can only fit 30 dogs in there. I posted it on Facebook about a week ago, and if you're interested in doing that, I highly recommend that you call the spa. You have to call the spa. You have to talk to the girls up in front. You have to give them your name and your number and RSVP because we only have 30. And I think, to be honest with you, I think we only have 10 spots available. So, and I'm going to be sending out an invitation, but there'll be food there. You'll get to meet my staff. We're all going to be in the pool, so you don't have to go in the pool. We'll teach your dogs how to swim. There's little life jackets there. You'll get to know the wellness center, and that's on August 22nd from 12 to 4. And so you'll get to meet some of the doctors and all sorts of stuff there too. So, all right. All right, everybody. Thanks for visiting. I'll see you guys next week. Bye. Lori, thank you
Bye,
so
all.
much.
Absolutely. Have a great evening. Bye,
You too.
all.
Bye.
Bye, Carrie.